It is my turn to chair the last session of our conference. It is a privilege and a great pleasure to share the session, to share the table with my dear colleague and above all friend, the Dean of the Titu Maiorescu University, Faculty of Law of the Titu Maiorescu University from Bucharest University, where I studied and I graduated many years ago. I will not say when, but many years ago, believe me. So we have a representative from a different university, from Romania and Spain. I would kindly ask the speakers to speak not more than 12, please, 15 minutes, not more. We are at the last session with at least me. I've learned a lot from the previous speakers, and I hope you will enjoy this for a session, which has highly topical issues of public and private law. I hope the Romanian perspectives will reach our knowledge on the law of the sea and about this part of Europe. Thank you so much for your attention, and I invite Professor Manuela Tăguraș to present her topic. He is highly specialized person in private law. Let's say private law because civil, trade, notarial, and other fields of private law. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Distinguished fellow, as I said yesterday, it's a privilege and an honor to have you with us, and today it's a privilege to speak to you in my quality of researchers. And yes, it's true, this is not my specialized field, the international public relation. I am teaching in the private law, but I think what I want to point out that it's my interest to be with you, with all of you, and because of that, I try to find a topic that regarding the legislation to the Black Sea, but it's strict. What I am learned to do, the private law. So you can see on the title that the title is about the seizure, and it is a mooring in civil law and civil procedure, consideration of seizure and insurance seizure of the ship. A two common right, because seizure it's a common right, but regarding with the ships became a very specialized, special right. As we know, the current regulation as seizure in generally show how specialized is a ship or a ship seizure can be. Often entitles this idea entitles the need for a special procedure derogating from the ordinary law, which some law professionals are thinking of reunited in the framework of the Maritime Code. On the other hand, unity of regulation should not be thought by amending the Code of Civil Procedure and not by creating a special procedure in the Maritime Code, say the conservative part of the legal doctrine and the professional in the field of informal execution. Moreover, over-regulation may give rise to a procedure that is far too difficult or with elements that are so far distinct from those of the common law, the justification for which is difficult to argue. Our objective is to create arguments that it should be ideal for the lawmaker to follow the regulatory unity, yes, but it is far away, okay? To find the regulatory unity in the principle by amending how? by amending the Code of Civil Procedure on one hand, and by adopting the forced execution of mobile properties to the specific execution of the vessel on the other hand, but not necessarily by creating a special enforcement procedure in the Maritime Code. This is the main issue. Since 2011, we have witnessed fundamental changes in the Romanian legislation. And first change it was given in the Civil Code, who was entered into force in 1st October 2011 with Law 71 regarding the implementation of the Civil Code, with its main purpose of which it's to bring the existing civil legislation into line and to resolve the conflict of the law. In this Law 71, one provision, Article 2230, says that on the date of entry into force of the Civil Code, it will be repealed the Commercial Code, the first Commercial Code, and also the second, the Carol one, with two exceptions. The first exception is not so interested in regarding the professionals, and the other one is very important for maritime trade. It was repealed the book number 3 regarding on the maritime trade and navigation, and the provision of some articles which are repealed on the date of entry into force the Maritime Code, which will be repealed, with one exception. Chapter 2, regarding the seizure, tracking, and forced sale of the vessel. From starting with February 2013, we will not have any disposition regarding the seizure, tracking, and the forced sale of the vessel in our legislation. So this needs some conclusion. First conclusion is that we don't have that chapter on maritime trade and navigation regarding the commercial and the execution of the ship. Why they repeal this? Because they announced the new Maritime Code in that moment. The second conclusion is, thus the enforcement procedure in the specialized field of maritime enforcement has disappeared without the new civil procedure code adding anything new, with one exception. With the exception of insurance seizure. This is the only chapter new introduced. So they repeal the normal, the common seizure, the common trading of the goods, and also the forced sailing of the vessel, but they are introduced a new regulation regarding the insurance seizure. The third conclusion, in the few articles mentioned by the legislature, which are not repealed by the legislator, by the lawmaker, they are not very interesting for us and for execution of the obligation. But what is important with those remarks, that they announce the new regulation, the new Maritime Code, which will include the execution of the maritime contract. So the legislator declared to be himself a unifier, because he unified the disposition regarding the professional and the non-professional in one code, the civil one, but also he declared himself to being a separated, because he is intending to separate the forced execution. How will separate it? The foreclosure of movable properties, they will be separated in the they will split it in the maritime and fluvial maritime code, and the foreclosure of all other movable properties by the civil procedure code. This is the main idea. Conclusion number 4. It's regarding our memory that we have been, that it's been 11 years and we still don't have a maritime code since that period of repealing the former legislation. And I must repeat myself that we don't have the announced legislation, in spite of the fact that in the procedure for forcible execution of the ship, we don't have any rules regarding seizure, tracking, and forcing of movable properties. So, we have another conclusion, that this change of philosophy of our lawmaker does not seem to be constant, and it generated mistrust. The legislator got lost in the maze of regulation, or did it do it with its full knowledge? Because regarding the professional, the legislation was united with the legislation of non-professionals, but the legislature do it like this because he recognized the value of the doctrine and their criticizing, and now they decided to split the regulation, to split the position of the specialization of informants outside the common framework work by regulating this special provision, this special regulation in the future maritime code. The conclusion number 6 is that our Romanian doctrine was constantly support unity, in spite of the fact that he recognized the specialized and the need to adapt all of this rule in the matter of force enforcement of the maritime field. So this is the few ideas, but I want to analyze one by one. I will not have time to do it. I will do it in my research. I already made my article, but I want to point out some aspects regarding what we have now in the regulation. So we are in the moment that we are waiting for the new maritime law, and we don't have nothing in the matter of enforcement maritime obligation. So we have something new I told you about. It's about the new regulation regarding the insurance seizure of the vessel. In the provision 960, 969. So we must remember that we don't have any special provision regarding seizure, tracking, and forced sale. And we hope in the case of a dispute related to the foreclosure of a ship, all the participants will think that the rules of the Civil Procedure Code regarding the enforcement of movable properties are applicable. So the only concept that you have, we have the concept in regarding the common law regarding seizure, tracking, and forced execution. So I will analyze only the first article, and regarding this article, we will see on the map that we have 960 article who create the right for the creditor to seize a ship. This is the main article that entitles the creditor to ask for the insurance of the ship. Not only seizure the ship, but insurance seizure of the ship. The first observation regarding this new article is that the Civil Procedure Code doesn't describe the specialized object of insurance seizure. The Commercial Code, which was repealed, has an article 419 who define the vessel. What means the vessel regarding the enforcement procedure? The vessel includes not only the ship, but also the tools, the instrument, the arms, the ammunition, provision, and in general, all things needed for use or permanent use, even if for some time they are separated from the vessel. In the new regulation, it means Ordinance 42 on maritime and in land waterway transport, and even in the procedure code, we have only the term of ship without any other explanation. A second observation is also related on the criticism that the legislation does not describe the special object of the insurance agent. The legitimate question of any specialist with minimal experience in enforcement execution will be, can any ship be subject of insurance seizure? As long as the law doesn't make any exception, the superficial answer will be yes, any ship can be object of this provision. It is as clear as day that this is not what the legislature has in mind, because there are a lot of kind of ship, at least from their perspective, goal and destination, they are not seizeable. For example, the ship of public utility, the training or the school ship, and also the military ship. They can be seized, but the legislation doesn't give us any exception for this. A third observation regards the same subject and the same article with only 2 lines. The claim that generates the request for the establishment of an insurance seizure under the provision of 960, it is exclusively a maritime claim born from a maritime report, or it can be any claim that can be enforced from the assets of the debtor who own maritime vessels. The answer will generate a different kind of solution, a different kind of material and territory competence, the form of publicity, and obviously the procedure and the entitled for this. The fourth observation is quietly dramatic. If the insurance seizure regulated by 960 concerns only the maritime claim, it means that the ship can be subject to the double procedure at the same time. A special seizure under common law and a special one, more special, under the disposition of 960. And we to believe that this is what the legislature thought of, to make a harder situation for the ship than for any other movable properties? Certainly not. And this is just a few effects of the rush to repeal rules without thinking ahead, to specialize too much and to separate procedure from the common law, and the effects are not long in coming. There can be a lot of other observations. For example, can the seizure concern only the entire ship, the whole ship, or a part of it, or a right of it? The common law offers solution, but the special regulation regarding the ship not. There are many things that can be discussed regarding this issue. I treat all the 10 articles in my written paper. But as a conclusion, the current regulation of seizure show how specialized a ship seizure can be, which often suggests the need for a special procedure derogating from the common law. But let's stop a little bit. Okay, but however, we consider that such a regulation of the informant's procedure is necessary to be found topographically among the forms of movable informers regulated by the Code of Civil Procedure, and not by amending the Code of Civil Procedure, only by amending the Code of Civil Procedure, not to create a separate disposition in the Maritime Code. But anyhow, both of the doctrines who made the legislative proposal, either for codification through a maritime code, as well as the practitioner in the matter, and obviously me, we find that it's imperative to quickly regulate the matter of foreclosure of ship. Clarification and harmonization are needed in a series of issues as material and territorial competence, the authorization of the movement of the ship, the transfer of guarantees, the standards for the individualization of the assets, but also indication regarding the forms of the publicity of the seizure when it comes about the ship, and also the seizure, the tracking, and the sales of the vessel. And there are just few issues and few problems regarding this new repealing of the former provision. And we should notice that in the March 31, Romanian officially entered in air and the maritime Schengen, and I think it's a must to clarify the legislation regarding the seizure of the ship. Thank you very much. I'm waiting for your question, but I want to thank you. But I want to mark that the private law is near you and we can do together a lot of things. Thank you very much.
This clarification and clear ideas and observation and critics to the Romanian law and how it could be improved. Very good point, and this kind of ideas seem to be easier for persons who are practicing and knowing them very well. I know it's not your specific field of research and but you know very well the Romanian practice, and this allows you to have a very graphical overview of such controversial and sensitive issues. Now I will invite Professor Anina Bugin. She's a PhD lecturer in international law at the University of Vigo. The University of Vigo is another university from the Galicia. Spain is divided into 17 autonomous communities plus 2 autonomous cities in the north part of Africa, and Galicia is one of the 17 autonomous universities. The University of La Coruña and the University of Vigo and the University of Santiago de Compostela, 3 Galician universities they have. I teach at the University of La Coruña and University of Vigo to my university. However, she and I are members of the same research and the same projects, but are the 5 years across my Slovenia. So, please, Professor Wiggin, yours.
Thank you very much, Gabriela, for these nice words. Dear colleagues, first of all, I wanted to thank you. Okay.
Second.
Yes, perfect. So, first I wanted to thank you to all the organizers, especially the host universities here, from here, but also from Bucharest, of course, the AssIDMer association, and especially the Shomone chair, Gabriela, for the perfect organization and also putting together this very interesting program. All these diverse aspects we are actually dealing with. We have the privilege to gather here in a historical site. I have learned a lot while preparing this written text, but especially the presentation, and I will continue to learn a lot while finalizing actually my contribution. So it's a historical site, and the history of Constanța has been characterized by being intersection in a lot of different dimensions and aspects, and has been for centuries or even millenniums now a trade crossroad, and the maritime economy or the blue economy has always played a crucial role. So the blue economy has always been here present. Actually, no. What I'm going to look at is a bit the sustainable economy concept. No? Reality has always been here, and then we have, of course, developments now of new concepts and also the legal frameworks. So my input here aims at contributing to our discussions by looking into some aspects of the blue economy in this region, some specific issues, but also governance aspects. And I'm happy because I can go through quickly because some of the colleagues, they have already mentioned some governance structures. And I try to have a closer look at, to just mention specific example of here of the port of Constanza. So when we look at the past, the present, and the future is of course all already here. Yes, the sustainable blue economy. The term. We have different terminology. Terms are used. The ocean economy, the blue economy, blue growth, sustainable blue economy, etc. In my written presentation or contribution, I will deal with all these concepts because I think it's important to deal with the concepts and the definitions. We don't have a universally accepted, let's say, definition or concept. What is sustainable blue economy? That's why I just present you here a kind of working definition. What I understand, I think it's a very good definition of the concept because it includes the 3 dimensions of sustainability, right? Yes, it is about the economic growth, but also the social inclusion. We have been talking about yesterday, the people, they are fundamental in all economic sectors and also in the blue economy, but also a livelihood, an important topic, and while at the same time ensuring environmental, let's say, sustainability. In my understanding, I include, let's say, all ocean-related sectors established, like shipping, and also so-called emerging sectors, blue economy sectors. And just to make a very brief reference here, I elaborate on this more in the written text, is that from the start, when the terms blue economy, blue growth, ocean economy starts to appear also in the international framework, let's say, it was clear from the start that UNCLOS is considered the legal framework, the cornerstone of the ocean economy, whatever we understand. So also it's derived, let's say, or related international treaties. In the fisheries, 95 New York agreements, VII, IMO regulations. What I've learned so far is that there is a clear consensus, let's say, on the international legal framework. Yes, here. Now I will turn directly to the Black Sea region and referring to the past and present first, of aspects of sustainable blue economy. And as I said, the blue economy always existed, and singular aspects of sustainable blue economy too. It's what we have is a new concept, but not this the single elements of the blue economy, they have also existed. Very briefly, because my colleagues I already mentioned, what I try to do in my written presentation is to look first at the governance aspect. We have a regional governance, let's say. I divide it into regional governance aspect in the sense that the collaboration and the cooperation of the Black Sea states among themselves, let's say, with the Convention on the Protection of the Black Sea Against Pollution, then 92, the institutionalization of the Black Sea Commission, for example, and then also the protocol on biodiversity, which was approved in 2002. And this is what I call, it's a kind of the environmental pillar of the sustainable blue economy concept, which has existed more than last 30 years. It's not a new invention, sustainability concern in the Black Sea. This has we are not talking about here at me on the enforcement or the implementation, but yes, it has already been there. And then we have what is interesting from a blue economy, let's say, approach or perspective is the second one, the Common Maritime Agenda, adopted in 2019 within the framework of the VII, let's say. And here we can say there's a kind of the adding of the economic and the social pillar of the sustainable blue economy concept. Actually, in the framework of the Common Maritime Agenda, just to mention the celebration of the Maritime Business Week this week in 26th to 28th of June here in Constanza. So the blue economy activities, so in practice, let's say, including the business activities. And what we have in the Common Maritime Agenda is the 3 goals. So the sustainability approach or goal, not a healthy marine environment, but as we can see in the second and third is specifically the focus on blue economy. Specifically, let's say, defined and mentioned. A competitive, innovative, sustainable economy, but also investment in the Black Sea blue economy, not only in a financial meaning, but also in people. Capacity building, what we have in the ocean literacy or blue careers. So these are these like nice terminologies also used by the European Union, but yes, capabilities and skills are important and specific skills for the blue sectors. And then we have the, let's say, I call it, let's say, the European Union approach. Here, the European Union governance context, which is of course relevant specifically for Bulgaria and Romania because it has direct impact of the new regulations, etc., but probably also indirectly for the whole Black Sea region. And we will see this probably with the example I try to make just in the following slides. We have the Black Sea energy, which was not considered as let's say, a sea-based European Union sea-based strategy as such, but as a contribution and to institutionalize forum for EU cooperation, as you know it much better than me. And then, of course, when you talk about the sustainable blue economy, you have the communication of 2021, which is a direct result, policy result, right? It's not a legal document, a direct result of the Green Deal of the European Union. Just to mention there, decarbonization is omnipresent in the sustainable blue economy context of the European Union, and is a horizontal issue, and we have a look at just right now. And the second one is ports. Ports are considered key players, not only because of their traditional activities of shipping and of transshipment and logistics, but also for future tasks, like, for example, to be an energy hubs for alternative fuels when it comes to vessels. Now, turning to the present and the future, just some ideas, and I will elaborate on that more, of course, in the written contribution when it comes to maritime ports. So how is actually, let's say, this the sustainable blue economy of the European Union put into practice? And just to mention two regulations that were just adopted recently, the Fuel EU Maritime Regulation in September 2023, which has the focus is on, let's say, greening the maritime transport. By vessels, they must reduce their GHG, greenhouse gas intensity, for energy used on board during voyage. There are special requirements. I elaborate on this on the written text. And this happens tomorrow, in the sense this is the deadlines for vessels, how they have to phase out or phase in the reduction and to phase out, let's say, their intensity. This is what I say, it starts tomorrow, it starts in 2025, and it's phasing in regulation. But this has also not only consequences for the vessels as such, but also for the ports, because vessels, they are connected with the ports, of course, right? And then there's a second requirement, is that vessels must use all its electrical power at berth while they are on the port, by onshore power supply. And this has a huge impact of ports, of course, that they have to provide these infrastructure by 29, but by 2024, I mean now, they have to provide already refueling stations for liquefied gas. So this contributes to the greening of maritime transport. And directly related with this, we have just a revised 10th regulation, very specific, technical regulation, just adopted 2 weeks ago by the Council, which aims to modernize, to have a multimodal transport network, sustainable, more efficient, including maritime, river transport, but also rail and road. So, I mean, this, I come back to this just right now. What does this mean for the Port of Constanza? Because there is a categorization for airports and ports. You are a core port, airport, comprehensive extended core, or a comprehensive, right? So there's a categorization, and the categorization means that there are different requirements. The member states have to apply for these specific airport supports. What is a core maritime port is considered. There is a methodology how the categorization has been carried out, but specific, or to summarize, they are considered of highest strategic importance. And this is the core maritime ports. We have heard yesterday, the pro-rector of the university and also a colleague from the Coast Guard, right, on this issue that they are considered of highest strategic importance, of course. So just a very, to go to the Port of Constanza, just a very short, quick look at the sustainable blue economy data from the European Union for 2021. Just to highlight that there is quite a concentration of the established sector in 3 sectors. So ship building and repair and port activities account for almost more than 50%. Be it for employment or GVA, gross value added, right? And of course, tourism, though, is the third sector. But I will elaborate on this because I think it's important to know that macro data don't tell the whole story, right? And they are important. Blue economy, sustainable blue economy are important for coastal regions, and probably not of the share of the national macro data, but yes, for the maritime regions, they are fundamental. The Port of Constanza is in a privileged position because it's an intersection connecting Europe and Asia, big picture, let's say. Of course, as you all know, but it's a major maritime port in Romania. But it's also important because it's not only a maritime port, but also a river port. And this makes the Port of Constanza. Wait, oh no, sorry. No, okay. Sorry. This one? The screen button, maybe. Fine.
Yeah. This
is the other one. Sorry. This one. I pressed the button. Okay, thank you very much. So for just some of the data, right, but the Port of Constanza is considered a core maritime port. And just to highlight, for example, when it comes to operations, operational data, the berth, it has a lot of facilities, and one of the depths, or one of the elements important are the depths of the berth, and it's 19 meters, which some of them up to 19 meters, which means that they can receive very large vessels. This makes it also in a privileged position, of course. Yes, so when we look at revised tent revision, what does this mean for Romania and also the Port of Constanza? It means, this is already now, to have infrastructure for alternative fuels for the vessels, and also to improve, let's say, the environmental performance of berth vessels when they are in their port, as we have seen, and some digitalization and IT mechanisms that are already in place. But by 2030, there are new requirements that the Romania must actually, let's say, provide also the Port of Constanza with connection with rail and road infrastructure, multimodal freight terminal, and also when there is a connection to inland waterway, which is the case for the Port of Constanza, is the handling capacity for vessels for the inland waterways. How does Port of Constanza, let's say, has been prepared herself for the future and is preparing herself for the future? Just 3 elements: projects, huge projects, infrastructure project, CEF infrastructure project for remote cold ironing, which is exactly this, to provide electricity, onshore electricity, for when vessels are at moored. Then it's also a partner in a the Pioneers project, which is co-financed by Horizon 2020 of the European Union, which is not, let's say, addressed to vessels, but to its own energy reduction, let's say, or more efficient, and also to substitute, let's say, its own energy resources to alternative fuels. As you can see with other 3 ports, and they will elaborate its demonstrations how to actually reduce the GHG in ports and off ports. And this was also mentioned yesterday, I think, by the prorector, that it's a part of the Rail 2C project within the 3 Seas initiative to connect the Black Sea with the Baltic Sea by railway. It's on railway, yes, but the railway, they have a start and ending point, which are actually at sea, at the coast, and also one of them is the Port of Constanza. And just to finish, I think it's an important aspect when you talk about policy making, especially in the European Union now, is that the Port of Constanza is also a member of the ESPO, which is, let's say, the advocacy group, the lobbying group, if you want to say so, no, to give maritime ports one voice in, let's say, in Brussels, which is very important. And they have also their own initiatives like EcoPort Network now, so there is a clear, the future goes to decarbonization. And this is just a recap, I think, the past, present, and future of the SBE in the Black Sea. It has always existed, blue economy, right? There have been approaches already in place. This is the past, but they last today and also into the future, like the Black Sea Commission, or when we talk about sustainability, sustainable environmental issues, goes probably to over the sustainable economy we have now, and the future is here. One aspect of the future of the sustainable economy is the maritime issues on the decarbonization, the pollution, and what the added value of the SBE concept probably is that we have a comprehensive approach, the sustainable approach. Before we had environmental issues, we had blue growth issues and social aspects, and what I think is the added value is it's a more comprehensive approach of the 3 dimensions of sustainability. And with I wanted to stop here with this very nice picture. I think now it's the world oceans, cornucopia of goods and services. I think if we do not protect and conserve our oceans, they cannot provide us with all these goods and services for humanity, especially for livelihood. Thank you very much, and I'm sorry for
for your comprehensive presentation over the sustainable new economy. It shows us the dynamic of the area where we are this today, an area with a huge economic potential. I hope it will be possible for Romania to get a stronger position on the European Union economy. Okay, thank you. And I will invite my colleague, Professor Miguel Garcia Villa. He comes from the south part of Spain, from Andalusia, from the University of Córdoba. I have to underline strong implication of the research group coordinated by Professor Casado in the life of the International Association of the Sea. And Professor Garcia is one of the strongest and active participants to the colloquia of AssIDMer. Thank you so much, Professor Garcia, and you have the floor.
Thank you so much, Gabriela. First of all, I would like to express my gratitude to the hosting universities, the Constanza University and the Tito Maiorescu for supporting the event. Also to the AssIDMer Association, Professor Giuseppe Cataldi, and of course to Professor Gabriela Guanta, and all the team which is preparing and coordinating everything for making this possible. My presentation concerns alien invasive species and the Black Sea. I would like to focus on these problems, on these things, on these topics. The problem of alien invasive species, I will try to be as short as possible, and also to be as short as possible as regards the response, the instruments that international law provide to tackle this problem, to face this problem, to focus myself mainly in the third point, which is the main one, the alien invasive species and the Black Sea, for ending with some concluding remarks. As regards the problem of alien invasive species, alien invasive species, and I will go to the meaning of this expression, means alien species, species that are belonging to other area, that are not born in the local area, and are displaced to another area. For example, mitten crab, which is catched by accidentally in the Chinese ports or in the Chinese waters and brought to the Spanish waters, for example, to the mouth of the river Guadalquivir. This is why when the problem that I met first when I began to study this 15 years ago, more or less. The problem is the second element of alien invasive species, the species that are displaced to another area and also that can be that can invade the area, displacing at the same time the local species, even erasing them, and even causing a damage in the local environment. For example, what happened in the mouth of the river Guadalquivir. There were local crabs there that were displaced by these Chinese, the Riacher sinensis, the Chinese mitten crab, and it caused a serious harm in the mouth of the river Guadalquivir in the south of Spain. We will see some local examples in this respect. These are provoked by a displacement, and this displacement can be produced by many patterns of introduction, most of them unintentional, non-voluntary patterns. So if we go to the patterns of introduction, these are just examples, the main examples, but these are just examples. I would like you to focus on the first one, the ballast water problem, which is one of the main concerns as regards the displacement of alien invasive species nowadays. The ballast water is the water that vessels use to balance when they upload or they download their cargoes for keeping balanced and not putting in jeopardy the cargo itself and the security of the vessel. So they take the water, the ballast water, in a port, and they travel to a distant port in other parts of the world, and then they download this water, having juveniles or having eggs of species that are alien in that area and that could become invasive in that area. Think that this is just a vessel and see an oil vessel and see the size of the vessel. And we obviously in the world have millions and billions of tons moving every day. This is the grain, this is the crude. So these are the movements. The effects, well, sometimes the effects of introducing a species could be beneficial. For example, for combating starvation in some historical moments. But sometimes the effects can be catastrophic and it can be terrible. There are many species, many alien invasive species, and institutions, organizations like the UCN and others are trying to make some inventories and database of the species. I would like to focus just on these guys. These 10 of the most unwanted are aquatics invasive species and are the worst for the moment. And I would like to focus on this particular two, The first one is a comb jelly. I will go to it in a moment. And the other one is from here, which is the zebra mussel. It's famous in our world of alien invasive species, a famous one. It was displaced from here to the coast of North America in the 90s. I would say symbolically speaking that it was as a revenge of the displacement of the other species, the first one. But let's see. These are the two species. These are the two species that I would like you to focus for the moment to see the effects. These are the effects, some of the effects of the zebra mussel, for example. And this is the spread of the zebra mussel during the 90s and the years afterwards in the Great Lakes of the North America, the Great Lakes area. This was just 6 years later, and this was just 15 years later. I don't know now, but I assume that the problem will be real serious. Then, what is doing international law to facing this problem? To summarize it, we can find three. We can find conventional law, international treaties. We can find, or we can presume that there is some customary law supporting measures against the introduction of alien invasive species. And we could also speak on international responsibility, but less. And I leave this thing to the VII paper because we have no time. As regards the international law, and particularly as regards the conventional law, international treaties, we can find some treaties dealing specifically with the problem of alien invasive species. Also, we can find some treaties that have provisions regarding alien invasive species. And also we can find treaties not dealing with this problem, but affecting them indirectly. For example, regulating the measures against plagues, against the distribution of any kind of produce or organisms. Dealing with specifically with this problem is the treaty, the main one, which is the Ballast Water Convention, fortunately in force since 2017, and the other one which is affecting these problems by regulating the use of paintings for avoiding the adherence to the hulls of the vessel, which is the second one, both of them in the ambit, in the area of the International Maritime Organization. On the other side, we can find these treaties, all these treaties. I would like to underline the first two in the left side, the Convention on Biological Diversity, providing a definition in its Article 8, and the Law of the Sea Convention regulating it in a peculiar way in Article 196. It would be very nice to enter in this provision, but we have no time, obviously. Well, this is just for watching that there are other treaties affecting indirectly this problem, both at the global and at the regional level. As regards customary law, just to recall, the sovereignty over natural resources, which implies at the same time, as been said here these days, the obligation of preserving the environment, in part, as declared in the part 12 of the Convention, of the Law of the Sea Convention. I think that there is also a right for the states to take measures regarding the waters under their sovereignty and the ports, internal waters, territorial sea. But it is a development that certainly we have no time to deal with it. As regards the international responsibility, we should have in mind that we are speaking mostly of non-intentional introductions that are involuntary, even when the displacement of the species, for example, in aquaculture, in mariculture, is intentional, but not the liberation of the species into the environment. It's not intentional. Then we should go to the point, the main point, that is alien invasive species and the Black Sea. the problem. And now I go to the first one of the two species that I was underlying at the beginning. The first one is the comb jelly, the Nemnosis lady, the sea walnut, which is this species. This is the comb. Well, this is a species that can be very destructive when displaced to another area, which is not its original area. Sorry. I would like you to read the effects, and particularly the effects in this area, in this particular area, during the 90s, but as a consequence of its introduction, involuntary introduction, but its introduction during the 80s. And it affected seriously and caused a serious decrease in the stocks of these wonderful small anchovies that you call hamsie or amsie. Yes, that we enjoyed yesterday. Yes, but it provoked a serious decrease. You see in the part below on the right that the entering of this comb jelly in the Black Sea was inversal in proportion to the stocks of the hamsie in the area. When it was combated and it was reduced, this comb jelly, this Nemnosis lady, this alien invasive species, then the stocks of the hamsie recovered. And this is why we can now enjoy it. These are the movements. And this is the situation more or less in the recent times. The press
Standing there, it's a keyword.
Pentru că sunt multe, foarte multe sensuri și foarte multă lume confundă emigrația cu imigrarea și cu refugiat.
There are many meanings, migrant, and people commonly confuse the words immigrant and emigrant, immigration and emigration.
Ok, sper că ați citit definiția.
I hope you've read the definition.
Ok, alt slide.
We go to the next slide.
Acestea sunt trecerile ilegale la nivelul anului 2019, deci acesta este nivelul emigrării ilegale la nivelul UE. Uitați-vă pe slide-uri. Da?
This is the EU levels of illegal immigrations in the year 2019. 141,000 illegal detections at EU level.
O singură remarcă în timp ce citiți slide-urile. Rutele obișnuite, pe baza rutelor obișnuite sau în temeiul rutelor obișnuite, apare și Libia. Dacă vă uitați pe slide.
While you are reading this slide, you might notice that Libya is among the usual routes for illegal smuggling.
Motivul e simplu, există un conflict permanent care încă nu este încheiat. Alt slide. Peste această chestiune s-a suprapus pandemia.
Another reason for this phenomenon is the 2019 pandemic, 2020.
Și în timp la fel ce vă uitați pe slide, în Turcia, unde se află bazinul principal de imigrație pentru Marea Neagră, au crescut numărul de refugiați în taberele de unde vin aceștia.
The number of migrants in the migrant camps of Turkey have steadily grown since 2020.
Alt slide. În 2021 crește din nou, crește din nou numărul migranților pentru, da,
illegal border crossings has increased in 2021 once again.
O motivație foarte clară, cresc numărul de sirieni.
The number of Syrians has grown since then. This is the main reason.
Observați că principalul coridor de imigrație este Mediterana Centrală.
The main corridor for migration for illegal smuggling is
cu rutele pe care le cunoașteți. Direct la România.
Moving on to Romania.
Aceasta este capacitatea noastră de reacție strict în zona Mării Negre.
The response capacity of the Romanian authorities for the Black Sea area.
Integrarea europeană înseamnă cooperarea în cadrul programului Frontex și cooperarea în special cu autoritățile turcești și italiene.
European integration has meant close cooperation with our Italian and our counterparts.
Principalul instrument de combatere este garda de coastă.
The main instrument for
cu acele
fighting this phenomenon is the Coast Guard, with the powers which are mentioned in the slide, mounting border control, mounting monitoring and surveillance, as well as preventing and fighting.
Acestea sunt riscurile și amenințările în zona maritimă a României.
These are the risks and threats for the Romanian Black Sea coast.
Observați la finalul slide-ului că principalele amenințări sunt imigrația ilegală și infracționalitatea transfrontalieră.
As you can notice, the illegal immigration, cross-border criminality are the main threats for the Romanian borders at the Black Sea.
Sigur că am trecut și amenințările asimetrice în actualul context nenorocit al războiului.
Of course, we have mentioned the asymmetric threats due to the ongoing war in Ukraine.
Aș adăuga aici acel coridor de care a vorbit colegul nostru mai devreme.
I would also add the corridor mentioned by our colleague earlier,
care creează niște probleme în practică extraordinare.
which is creating extraordinary problems.
Trebuie să înțelegeți că nu funcționează pur și simplu sistemele electronice ale navelor în anumite zone și în anumiți timp ai zilei.
To understand that electronic equipment vessels simply do not function.
Consecința, accidente navale, nave scufundate. Consecințe.
Yes, among the consequences, there are the vessel accidents, sunken ships.
Așa este organizat sistemul SCOMAR de supraveghere maritimă al României. Are cea mai mare capacitate de supraveghere din Europa la ora aceasta.
The SCOMAR system, which Romania is endowed, has the greatest capacity at EU level currently.
Da. Trecem repede peste aceste cazuri. Așa arată, mulțumesc, așa arată tipul de nave cu care se face imigrație ilegală pe ruta Turcia, zona maritimă bulgară, zona maritimă a României.
These are the vessel types used for illegal immigration, smuggling of.
Observați că sunt nave de dimensiuni reduse. Sunt nave de dimensiuni reduse.
Really small boats, as you can see.
Se transportă până la 100 de imigranți pe asemenea navă.
They may transport up to 100 immigrants on each.
Profitul la un asemenea transport este în jur de 250.000 de euro.
The profit out of a single transport is over 250,000 euros.
Și reușim să arestăm un singur infractor care este conducătorul embarcațiunii, ceilalți evident.
And we managed to
emigranți.
catch only the captain of the ship.
Da. Și pentru că timpul este foarte, și vreau să închei cu două filmulețe care sunt foarte sugestive, timpul este foarte scurt. Prima concluzie, gestionarea eficientă la granițele externe înseamnă să continuăm programele europene în care suntem angajați.
Effective management at the Romanian borders means continuing the European programs we are involved in.
A doua concluzie este că permanent există cel puțin 3 scenarii posibile, planul A, planul B, planul C, în funcție de situațiile operative, adică cum să fie combătută imigrația ilegală pe fiecare zonă maritimă.
At all times, at least 3 possible scenarios for fighting this phenomenon.
Avem o strategie comună și noi și Bulgaria, care este strategia europeană.
We share a strategy with our Bulgarian counterparts for this purpose.
Cum se spune în engleză, și cu toate acestea, oricum,
However,
trebuie să respectăm drepturile fundamentale ale omului.
we still need to uphold human rights, fundamental human rights.
Și știți bine problemele existente și în zona maritimă italiană, și în zona maritimă spaniolă,
Problems in the Italian and Spanish
dar și la noi.
areas as well as in our area.
Bun? Și în fine, strategia comună permanentă este strategia pe care urmează organismul numit Frontex.
The strategy provided by Frontex is the common strategies for such situations.
Nu. Ăla, da. Și acum un filmuleț cum să combatem o simulare de combatere a imigrației ilegale făcută de Garda de Coastă.
A short film showing how the Coast Guard acts to this end.
Aici. Suntem la concert aici. Atât. Acesta este una din navele mici ale Gărzii de Coastă. Aceasta este nava amiral al lor, Ștefan cel Mare, care participă la misiunile Frontex. De pe această navă o să vedeți că se va coborî o embarcațiune care va trebui să preia imigrantul ilegal, vas sau din mare, să-l transporte la bord iar nava aceea mică este pentru asistență, adică pentru salvare. Aceasta este embarcațiunea care trebuie să preia migranții după o navă, pe nava Poliției de Frontieră. Acest exercițiu este făcut cu 3 săptămâni în urmă, partenerii europeni, evident. Așa se întâmplă. Da. Ne place filmul. Da. Ok. Acum trebuie să urce unul dintre migranți. Nava aceea pleacă, dacă el ar cade în mare, să-l salveze fiecare. Da? Exact. Acum, nava e în așteptare dacă se întâmplă ceva și acum trebuie să urce migrantul luat din mare sau de la bordul altei nave. Acesta este procedura. Da? Este percheziționat, evident. Da? Trebuie să fie minim 3 persoane care să-l preia. Da? Dacă nu prezintă riscuri medicale iminente sau riscuri teroriste, sunt deplasați în spatele navei. Ok, nu mai apare în imagini. Nava are dotări de ultimă oră. Sunt duși în câteva compartimente unde li se asigură sigur condițiile necesare, apă, care și așa mai departe. Exact. Embarcațiunea este ridicată la bordul navei și mica simulare se încheie. Am vrut să terminăm relaxat această conferință. Ok. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much for on bringing authorities in order to help people in this capacity. So as you can see, is a new rules for migration as well, on how to look at the phenomenon. Thank you so much. Now it's almost for the questions and answers. Around the hour, almost 1:30. We have one question. Anyone would like to ask something? What was answer, the migration, and maybe refugees coming from Ukraine? That's such good topics, but after so many sessions, I think maybe it's the moment for closing ceremony. Yeah. So I invite my dear colleagues from the organization and the professor and the vice rector who would like to join us. Please. And of course, thank you so much to the speakers all for the 4th session. Thank you. Sorry for having. Okay.